Like I mentioned at the beginning, I recently spent a week-long trip at North Wildwood, New Jersey. So I kind of want to give kind of a Whitmer's critique of everything that I kind of experienced while I was down there, kind of stuff that I liked, stuff I wasn't the biggest fan of, and everything. Just kind of give an overall kind of rating towards, North Wildwood, New Jersey. Like I mentioned, I think a lot of this may just be going back and forth with stuff in North Wildwood and the trip I took last year to Ocean City, New Jersey, just because I feel like that's kind of a good kind of comparison in terms of New Jersey Beach. May even get a little bit of Cape May in there, even though we were in there for a very limited amount of time. But yeah, I hope everyone kind of enjoyed all the clips that have, all the videos that have come out to before this in terms of my trip down to North Wildwood. And overall, just kind of want to give just, my critique of everything as a whole, stuff I liked, stuff I didn't like, and everything. So without further ado, let's kind of get into my trip as a whole in terms of North Wildwood. So to start it out, I want to talk about the house first before I actually get into like the beach itself and Wildwood. So for the house itself, we stayed at, I think ended up being, for the whole week we were there, probably like $6,000 or something like that, for just the house itself. And the benefit to what the house brought was it was a significant bigger house than what we had last year at Ocean City. It was 3 stories. On each floor there was obviously plenty of rooms, plenty of space, and because it was a family trip that I took and you're kind of a bigger family, it just fit us perfectly. And that was a good part of it, was just the size. It fit us very well. And even in the second floor where the main kind of like seating area was, living area, that was a lot nicer to kind of sit around, to be able to actually have everybody sit around, where last year that area was a lot more cramped. So some people weren't able to all sit like on the couch or on a chair around everything. Even at the kitchen table, we were kind of squeezed in there to kind of fit all of us in there. But this one, you had a lot more kind of room to work with. But the counter to that a little bit was, I felt like even though this house had plenty of, places to lounge, on balconies and everything, pretty much every room, I felt like had some kind of balcony, especially on the 3rd floor where I stayed at. 2 of the rooms there, the master and obviously the one I stayed at, and the room across from me, there was balconies out to look out and everything. There was a pool in the backyard and in the back of the house that was split between the 3 places that were to rent at that location, versus last year where we had no pool, but we didn't even utilize it once. We mentioned it many times. Oh, maybe tomorrow we'll be able to hit the pool, but it just never really happened. One, because of the weather, it just was never the best. Because if you were able to tell, obviously, and apologies to those who may not have been a big fan of all the wind noise and everything. Kind of did my best to kind of counteract some of the wind noise and everything, but that was not the best kind of weather week in that front. Almost every day except for maybe 2, it was very windy and kind of crappy. It never really rained too much during the trip, but overall the rain and weather just didn't really pan out. But in terms of like the house itself, those are kind of the highlights to it. And obviously the biggest highlight is kind of the how close you are approximately to like the beach or boardwalk, because like I even showed in the one video, you're pretty much like not even a block away from the entrance to the boardwalk. You pretty much leave the house, there's like a little mini golf course right next to it, and then right next to that is a parking lot to then go to a ramp up to the boardwalk. And then on the other side, or you can go underneath the boardwalk and just walk straight to the beach, which was nice. It was very convenient, a lot more kind of convenient than last year, even though we were maybe 3 or 4 blocks away from the beach. That one still felt pretty close-ish, where it didn't feel like too long of a walk to get there. That was another highlight. But what I wasn't a big fan of the house was, I felt like, and it wasn't like anything big, it was all like little nitpicky kind of things here and there, but it felt very much like a house that was good for like trying to sell and like get people to go show you on Verbo, or like just be did it through Verbo or obviously Airbnbs and all those how these houses and everything, and felt like it was very much made to look a lot nicer in pictures and everything, and the convenience of where you are located is definitely the highlight of it. But then when you take kind of a closer look at the house, it looks like a very much more of a model house or something like that than an actual like home and it definitely depends on who you are as a person, especially when you're staying at one of those places, how you feel about that. I felt more like a hotel version of a house versus house last year, which felt more like a home. I felt like somebody would have actually like lived there, and whether they did or not, I'm not 100% sure. But this one, it's very much just for people to rent. Nobody lives there any other time besides when they rent. It was very much made to look very well in terms of getting people to rent there. But like little things that I would have appreciated more was that we would have appreciated more that with the people I went down there with was little things like whenever we're sitting around in the living area, every once in a while I get a little cold, so it would have been nice to have like a little like blanket or a fleece blanket, because some of these beach houses have like one of those blankets that are on top of the on couches or whatever. It says like, oh, like North Wildwood or Ocean City, Cape May, like something like that, whatever the beach town is, or some kind of beach kind of blanket or whatever, kind of fleecy kind of blanket. They can kind of wear. I don't know, it just lacks some of those homey vibes that I just would have preferred to see. The biggest gripe I had on the house itself was the bug infestation front. And to the credit of the people who own the house, they did try to combat it in some form. But like the gnat fly situation was not the best. The worst kind of version that you could see was in the kitchen and by the sink. There was, from day one to pretty much when we left, there were little gnats everywhere all the time. But again, like I mentioned, and to their defense, they did have some kind of they are kind of trying to combat it in some form, where they have a little like fly trap kind of thing to kind of lure them in, and they have one of those like Vivo kind of night light kind of lights that are supposed to track flies and everything, or insects. And I get you can't keep every bug or whatever inside, but when you see something, and it's maybe just me, but when I see something like that, or see how many infestations like that, and even you got into where I was staying, I would walk into the bathroom and there was at least 2 gnats every morning, or whenever we get back from the beach to take a shower, there was 1 or 2 gnats just flying around in the shower. And to me, when you see that, to me, it just makes me question the cleanliness of the place you're staying at. Yes, they were trying to combat it. Just feel like they could be done better in terms of on that front. But overall, if I had to give kind of the house a rating, kind of like a 1 out of 10 kind of rating, I think that's kind of how I'm going to do most of the scale for this trip. I'd probably give it maybe probably a 6 maybe. I definitely had those highlights of being able to, the convenience of being close to the beach and all, and everything. The space we utilized, obviously there was a lot more space to it. But I just feel like the house we stayed at last year was a lot better on that front. So that's the one thing I was, just one kind of thing I just kind of prefer more on that house. Again, the homey vibes, and I felt like even though they really only had one kind of outside area to kind of lounge in, theirs felt like a lot nicer to kind of sit around and be able to accommodate more people in that front. But yeah, let's kind of move on a little bit to the actual rest of North Wildwood and what I thought about that. So for North Wildwood itself, obviously the biggest change compared to Ocean City is the fact that Ocean City was a dry town, and Wildwood it's not. So obviously there's going to be a lot more bars and everything, and I thought, because of that there was going to be potentially more opportunity to either hit like bars or go out and do stuff like that. We even mentioned in one of the like nighttime clips they took and everything, where it felt like at times North Wildwood was more dead at night or during that same time frame. The dates may have been a little different, but essentially the same time frame. We went for this North Wildwood trip. We went to the Ocean City trip, and I felt like that Ocean City trip. And maybe it's because the weather was a lot nicer for that one. There was just a lot less. I felt like there was a lot less people during the majority of the trip. By the end of it, it did pick up just because there was that Irish festival weekend kind of going on, which was one of the bigger weekends obviously that happens in North Wildwood, and because of that, drove in a lot more crowds towards the end of the trip. But for the most part, it just never really was too busy, and obviously, like most times during the off season, only a few things are open, and when they are, it's really only open during the weekends. And at North Wildwood, they had like 3 different piers that have like different rides and everything. Obviously, one of the places we stayed at the most, right next to it, was where one of the piers were, where you could see that like roller coaster and everything. It was like a little water park that was attached to it as well. So there was that. There was one a little bit further down that had like Ferris wheel, and then a little one further down from that had like a wooden roller coaster and like a slingshot kind of ride and stuff like that, and many little other rides too and everything. But overall, I just felt like the vibe of North Wildwood just wasn't for me, and everything. And I don't know, it just didn't really sit well. I mean, I felt like Ocean City was a lot. I felt like a lot nicer and everything. And I felt like it didn't really miss anything for being a non-dry town kind of thing, versus a dry town. There was no real big difference there. We still brought some alcohol with us and everything, so we still drink at the house and everything. But we really only went out to eat maybe 2 or 3 times that whole trip. The one time was when we were in Cape May. But the other 2 times was the first day we had like had a lunch that we ate at one of the like beach restaurants that was at by the beach on one of the piers, and then the last like full day we were there was another one where we ate at that bar that was right next to us, that Seaport Lounge or whatever it was called. We ate there the like last like full day there. Then we the only day we were able to like do any like bar hopping or anything like that was that day. And there was only just like 2 bars that we could really hit. But I'll tell that again, like the vibes and everything, and at times it almost felt a little more, not that it was dirty in any sense, but it just felt a little more like dirty. I felt like the merch and all the beachy stores just wasn't really the best, like quality or best like looking in terms of everything, because I'm always trying to look for some kind of merch or some kind of like shirt or something of the trip or place I'm going to, and there just wasn't really a whole lot. So a lot of the stuff I ended up getting was just more of those like dog kind of t-shirts, just because those to me looked more interesting than a lot of the stuff that was out there. And even to when we went to Cape May, that beach, just like in the beach town and everything in the shops we hit, it just seemed like a lot nicer of a beach and a beach town and everything. This one just didn't really do anything for me too much. And that's just me. Obviously, if you like North Wildwood and go there all the time, good on you and everything. And, I hope you have like the best time or whatever when you're down there. It just wasn't really for me. So overall, if I had to give that kind of a rating as well, I'd probably give that maybe a bit higher, but probably like a 7, maybe 7.5. Definitely had its highlights. We definitely hit the beach almost every day except for the one day we went to Cape May. Every other day we were able to kind of make it some kind of a beach trip out of it. I just kind of wish the weather would have cooperated a little more, a little less wind. The weather was a lot better during that Ocean City trip. But yeah, it was definitely a fun trip. I don't know when the next time I'll be down at North kind of Jersey Beach or any kind of Jersey Beach of that front. But I will say, if anyone who's watching and want to see me kind of And it's not out of, not wanting to go down there. I just don't have anything planned to go down there. But if anyone wants me to go explore these areas or different beaches, whether it's on the Jersey Beach or around the Philadelphia kind of area, let me know, and I'll be sure to kind of, check it out and everything. But yeah, that's all I really got in terms of, everything that I got into in terms of North Wildwood. Again, hope you guys like the content that I put out there in terms of the videos. Some of those shots may not have been the best, but overall I thought it was a nice little trip, and I did my best in terms of kind of capturing everything we were able to get into.